What's up, swimmers and swammers? I'm Garrett McCaffrey, joined by the machine, Braden Keith, and what a Day 6 finals it was. We'll recap all of it in our Day 6 finals recap presented by Swim Outlet Team Division. So, Braden, I want to start by apologizing to everybody out there in Swim Swam land for not having a recap up yesterday or the day before. As I said yesterday in our preview show, I'm at Far Westerns as a coach for Phoenix Swim Club, so the schedule's been a little bit hectic. We do have the opportunity to talk about an epic Day number 6 finals today, so let's take advantage of that. Starting with the semifinals of the 50 freestyle. It was a great event. And we saw a lot of guys, 10 guys or more, under 22 seconds in the semifinals, led by a tie for first between Cullen Jones and Cesar Cielo, 21-5-4 for both of those gentlemen. And I wouldn't expect Cesar to be so excited that he tied someone, but obviously he was pretty stoked about that time in the semifinals.
Yeah, he's an emotional guy, so if he's at the front, he'll be happy. If he's not at the front, he'll not be happy. It's just kind of how he goes. I think it's great to see the two Americans holding on to their, I guess, tapers. Do 50 freestylers really taper?
Yeah.
I mean,
they have the most epic tapers of anybody.
Yeah, but I think they both kind of train differently than your traditional age group swimmer. I think so it's impressive that they've been able to keep those times, but maybe not that surprising. And I think I'm hoping they can stay up there again, if anything, to make it an interesting race so that Cielo doesn't just run away with the final.
Yeah, everybody keeps putting Cullen aside and not thinking about Cullen Jones so much in these freestyle events all the way back to Omaha, but he keeps stepping up and taking the spotlight just like he did in semifinals. And like you said, Anthony Irvin, he was faster than trials as well. I'm at Far Westerns, and the Oakland Undercurrents are here, and that's a team that Anthony actually coaches for. And I was talking to some of the coaches and some of the swimmers, and they say he just has a way of analyzing a race and getting faster and faster and faster. So we'll see how that one shapes out tomorrow. So also there were two ties going into the final, and I have kind of a question for you on this because not only did Cullen and Cesar tie, but at the bottom of the heat, tie for 7th between Roland Schoeman and Eamon Sullivan. Great times for them as well, 21-8-8. But how do they decide the lanes if there's two ties like that? Is it a coin flip? How do they decide that?
We're actually going to research this and post about it. I'm pretty sure it's by seed time, or by seed time coming into that heat. But don't quote me on that. We're going to figure it out and post about it, though.
All right, well, stay tuned to that, swimmers and swammers. But next up on the final session was pretty epic 200 breaststroke. Not only from Rebecca Soni, who got under 220. We didn't know if she had it in her after two fast swims in the prelims and semis, but she went out a little bit slower than her semifinal swim and was able to come back even faster. 2:19.59, first woman ever under the 220 mark, new world record. It's so impressive. I don't want to take anything away from Rebecca's swim because the way she stepped through this whole prelim, semis, and finals of the 200 breaststroke was pretty impressive. But if I was going to tell you at the beginning of these Olympics that a 221.6 was not going to medal in the 200 breaststroke, I think you would have called me a liar.
Yeah, I think our friend Chris DeSantis was a little bit upset with that. He loves his Danish women, and Rikke Peterson was the 221.6 who didn't medal, but it was crazy. Coming into this meet in textile, only Liesl Jones and Rebecca Soni had ever been 220s in this race, and we got 3 of them. We're a 219 and 220s. You know, last year at Worlds, I think a 223 medaled, maybe. It's crazy how much faster this race has gotten from what was once kind of a one-woman show.
Yeah. Just for those viewers who haven't been up on the results, that's Satomi Suzuki of Japan getting the silver in 220.7, and then Yulia Efimova taking third in 220.92. Moving on to the next final, it was the gentlemen's 200 backstroke. We knew the 3 swimmers that were going to be in the mix. We called that today in the preview. It was going to be Lochte, Clary, and Irie. But I don't think we really... I mean, you said it in the preview. I'm thinking this is Lochte's, but I didn't expect Phelps to have anybody around him either. And on that last 50, you could just kind of tell as they came off the walls that Clary was building momentum, and Tyler Clary takes the gold medal. What a story Clary has had over the last 2 months, I mean, and he ends it with an exclamation point, a golden exclamation point, taking the win in 153.41. Ryosuke Irie taking the silver, 155 or 153.7, and then Ryan Lochte fading all the way back for the bronze, 153.9. I want to talk about his reaction in a little bit, but first, 55.6 on the way out. Was he just out too fast?
I don't know. I think what it all comes down to is we're moving into a different era of swimming where guys aren't going to be able to do these huge schedules. I think he just didn't look comfortable. He didn't look relaxed in the water. And I'm not saying he was necessarily tired because it was on the front end of the double, but he just looked tense and like he was fighting the whole way. I think it's just too hard for these guys to do these huge schedules. Even though you could be the best in the world in 7 or 8 or 9 events, doing them in 1 week is just too much.
Yeah, you might be absolutely right. He did not seem too pleased, and after you saw him swim right by Tyler Clary, did not give Tyler very much, congrats for that win. Obviously, he had another race coming up, so he needed to get to the warm-down pool, but it was kind of a sign of things to come a little bit later, and we will get to that. But before we get to that, I want to talk about the difference between the last few years with the American men and then this Olympic Games, because we've had great medal counts, but it's really come from 2 guys. And now it just seems like the rest of the group, the rest of the American men, are all stepping up, proving this unbelievable level of depth. And our 2 guys, I mean, obviously we'll get to Michael and the fabulous night that he had tonight, but they're not doing quite as much. And, we're all surprised that they're not being the superstars that we know them to be and winning all the events. But other Americans are stepping up in a lot of different places and getting things done. I mean, two Americans in the final of the 50 freestyle, that's 2 more than we had in 2008. A gold medalist in the 100 freestyle, gold medalist obviously in the 100 backstroke. They're stepping up all over the place, showing a level of depth that we might not have been able to predict, kind of taking up and replacing the medals that the 2 top superstars aren't getting.
Yeah, I think on the one hand, you make a good point that it's exciting to see these medals from different guys, because that was the big fear was, what happens when Phelps and Lochte are gone? What happens when Phelps and Lochte are gone? But when you look at who's stepping up, it's still older guys who may or may not be around in 2016. So even though we're getting some variety, Adrian will be back, some of the guys will be back, but we still haven't solved the problem where we have all of our medals or a lot of our medals either retiring, in Lochte's case probably dropping some of the events. So we're still not in a great position. We still need some young guys to step up.
It's true. It's true. It's becoming an older man's sport, though, with a postgraduate evolution, but we will get to that topic on another day. The next semifinal was also a 200 backstroke, and again, it was the Americans looking strong and everybody else just kind of in the women's 200 backstroke. Elizabeth Beisel will be the top seed, 206.18. Correct me if I'm wrong, that's the best time for EB, right?
Yeah, I think that is.
Yeah,
and it's good to see somebody who's going to push Missy in this, because she looked like it was going to be a runaway in the final.
What do you mean?
I said it's good that there's going to be somebody in the same neighborhood as Missy Franklin, because a lot of the women that we thought were going to be there and maybe go at 205 didn't even final. So it's good that Beisel has been able to get down there and at least gives Missy somebody to swim with. And we've seen upsets at this meet, so maybe pull off another one.
Yeah, or maybe it's somebody that we're not talking about, but it will be the 2 Americans in the center lanes. Missy Franklin, 206.84 in that second semifinal to take lane number 5 going into tomorrow. And just as quick as we got done talking about the 200 semifinals, it probably went even quicker for Ryan Lochte, as the turnaround between the 200 backstroke and the 200 IM was a very short one. Stepping up in the final of the 200 IM, I was trying to see if I could get it on my phone. I'd watched some of the races while I was at the prelim session this morning at Far Westerns, but I missed the 200 IM. I was trying to reset, and all. Hey, long story short, I missed it. Tell me how it broke down.
Phelps went out hard, had a lead at the halfway point, which was not a big surprise. But unlike the earlier rounds, Lochte wasn't able to make that ground up on the breaststroke, both because Phelps got better and he got a little bit slower. Our friends at swimnerd.com pointed out that Phelps is notorious for kind of slow playing that breaststroke in the early rounds, and he did exactly that. By the time he got to the freestyle, Lochte could have caught him with a crazy good finish, but we haven't seen a good finish from Lochte at this meet. And so Phelps kind of ran away with it. It didn't seem that competitive.
I'll have to watch the replay on NBC tonight, but what was the interaction like between Phelps and Lochte after the swim?
It was a pretty standard Phelps-Lochte interaction. They recognized their standing within the sport, and they play it appropriately.
Did Lochte smile?
I don't know. I didn't see.
Okay. Well, I'll be looking for that tonight on the rebroadcast on NBC. The next final up was the women's 100 freestyle. Not a whole lot of surprise to see Ranomi Kromowidjojo taking the win, 53-0. But Alexandra Harasimanya, 53-3. I mean, I probably completely butchered that. Can you correct that one for me?
I go with Harasimania, but I don't know that I'm right necessarily either.
53-3 for Alexandra, and then Tang Yi taking third in a 53-44. Another race that I missed. Was there anything in particular that stood out in that race?
Yeah, Kromowidjojo was actually half a second behind at the turn, and she's usually swimming from out front. She likes to swim from out front. But like we hear everybody say, all the swimmers say, she swam her own race. She split it exactly how she split it in the semifinals. And all these swimmers that took it out, Harasimania was out in a 25-2, which is just crazy fast. And she just couldn't hold on, and Kromowidjojo came back and took the gold.
Yeah. Missy Franklin finishing just outside the medals again with a fifth-place finish of 53.47 there in that final of the 100 freestyle. Last races of the night were the semifinals in the gentlemen's 100 butterfly. And Mr. Phelps taking the top seed, possibly sending a message with a very impressive 50.86 in the semifinals, probably riding a little bit of a high from that 200 IM victory. And then it was his maybe new arch nemesis, Chad Leclos, going 51.42 for second. McGill in there for third, 51.6, and Milorad Kavik, his old arch nemesis, 51.66 for fourth. It was the tale of two different 50s. Phelps out pretty fast for Phelps, 24.20. Leclos was 24.3. McGill out sub 24. He was out in 23.9, and then Kavik, as is his race strategy, was out in 23.5. I mean, if McGill or Kavik have a shot at Mr. Phelps, do they just have to go out faster than they already did, or are they going to have to change their game plan for a shot at the gold?
I don't know if Leclos can go out a whole lot faster. He's a 200, 400 IM kind of guy. I don't think anybody does have a shot at Phelps. You know, I think our perspective of his meet is a little bit skewed by that 400 IM. But since then, you know, he got out-touched in the 200 fly. It wasn't a great race. But now, after getting the win in the 200 IM, he just looks confident. He looks strong, even though that was a quick turnaround double for him. And I don't think there's anything anybody can do to beat him. After seeing the semifinals, I feel way more confident than we did going into the finals of the 200.
Agreed. He's finally starting to seem like he's got the Michael Phelps pop of old. It's kind of broken through after that rough start. And really, he didn't have a bad 200 fly. He just had horrible turns on his 200 fly and a horrible finish. So take those walls away, and he might have another gold instead of that silver. Very, very awesome night of action. I mean, these Olympics have not disappointed in any way, shape, or form. There's been surprises. There's been upsets. There's been superstars stepping up. It's been a terrific meet for the Americans, I would say. Overall, I couldn't be happier with the show that we've gotten out there in London. How about you?
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun to watch.
Cool. That's going to do it for our Day 6 recap. We want to thank Swim Outlet Team Division for presenting our coverage, and remind you that Swim Outlet Team Division is offering a 10% discount off their already everyday low prices, so make sure to sign up for Swim Outlet Team Division today. I'm Garrett McCaffrey, thanking Braden Keith. We will see all of you swimmers and swammers tomorrow.